Today we're at the Middle Oak Creek Trail, and you're looking directly at the canyon between Rainbow Mountain on the right and Mount Wilson on the left. And that canyon is the most likely candidate to get us up to the Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridgeline, which runs parallel to the Rainbow Mountains and yet above. And there is the Upper Crest Ridgeline. Which is our goal. Now in this canyon we're going to face likely some boulders, maybe some drop-offs, which could stop this non-rock climber, and a lot of brush. So those are our big challenges. Looking at the Rainbow Mountains, and here we're looking toward Red Rock Canyon. Here's the Middle Oak Creek parking area. Blue Diamond Mountain. And as you could hear earlier, and probably hear in a minute or so, is a very busy road here. Main road leads past the entrance to Red Rock Canyon. Okay, and then here's looking south along the Rainbow Mountains. The Rainbow Mountains are actually in the Spring Mountain Range, and they end at Highway 160 where Potosi Mountain begins. And then in the northern extent of the Rainbow Mountains, you can see the range actually, where it just tapers off. These are Jurassic era, red Aztec, frozen sand dunes. Popular rock climbing area. And here's the very northern extent of the Rainbow Mountains, and beyond the Rainbow Mountains you see the Keystone Thrust, and that system continues along, and you're looking right at the La Madre Mountains on the Keystone Thrust. Beautiful wilderness, and you can see adventures in all of these areas on Las Vegas area trails. And then here is Damsel Peak above Brownstone Basin. So there you get a good summary of this area. And now panning back to our goal, which is this canyon between Mount Wilson on the left and Rainbow Mountain on the right, with hope to get all the way to the Upper Crest Ridgeline. Why do we want to go there? Because then this non-rock climber can descend to all these peaks that otherwise you need to be a rock climber to summit. Okay, I've only been going about 5 minutes, already closing in on Rainbow Mountain, Mount Wilson, and the canyon between. And just wanted to point out, this is a pretty decent trail. Great for running, which I have been doing. Probably stop once it starts to ascend beyond my preferred rate of incline. But anyway, yeah, there's the canyon. And then looking around, Joshua trees, cacti, definitely Mojave Desert landscape. There's Blue Diamond Mountain. Keystone Thrust. Northern Rainbow Mountains. And again, our goal. And it is the first Saturday in December. Normally, all these adventures have blue skies, but it looks like all of this week we're into cloudy skies. And it's kind of interesting. The last time I was in Oak Creek Canyon a few years ago, it happened to be raining and there were waterfalls cascading off of both sides of those cliffs ahead in the canyon. So it was very beautiful, and I've got that on Las Vegas area trails. You can see the waterfalls. Today, hopefully, we will not be faced with that, but this gives you an idea of the Mojave Desert and Las Vegas area when there's clouds, which very seldom happens, but we have it here today. Quick summary of my escapades on the Upper Crest Ridgeline, which is right up in this area. There you see the Upper Crest Ridge. I have made a good incursion from the south on Highway 160, where we've gone up Windy Peak and maybe Hollow Rock Peak. We almost got to the top of that one, got sidetracked. But yeah, all the way over to Hidden Peak, and where there's a huge gap in the Upper Crest Ridgeline just south of Mount Wilson here. And then on the other end, I've gone up the northern Upper Crest Ridgeline from Willow Spring in Red Rock Park and made it to about the right side of Rainbow Mountain, straight in the center there. And the problem is, though, from the south and from the north, a one-day experience, and I always do just one-day experiences here, adventures, you can't get that far. You can't get much further than Rainbow Mountain from the north or Hidden Peak from the south. So we need a mid-Upper Crest Ridgeline approach. Between Bridge Mountain and Juniper Peak is Pine Creek Canyon. And just along the base of Bridge Mountain, no, that area is really choked with brush. Juniper Canyon is between Juniper Peak, which is right here, Juniper Peak, and Rainbow Mountain. And once again, brush, cliffs, possibility, but wow, you'd spend so much time trying to get to the Upper Crest Ridgeline that you'd run out of time by the time you got to the summit. Couldn't explore around too much. So this is the greatest hope at this point of getting to the mid-Upper Crest Ridgeline and having some time to explore the summit up there in both directions and close the gap between how far I got in my northern approach to the Upper Crest Ridgeline and my southern approach to the Upper Crest Ridgeline. Anyway, yeah, that explains why this is such a great canyon and the last great possibility for hitting the mid-Upper Crest Ridgeline. Okay, let's talk strategy. While we have this big picture look at the canyon between Mount Wilson on the left and Rainbow Mountain on the right, the strategy is to hug the base of Rainbow Mountain and wind around, continuing along the base of Rainbow Mountain. And I looked at I know this is very unscientific, but I looked at a terrain map from Google, and it seemed to indicate that the best possibilities for ascent would be to hug the right base of Rainbow Mountain and then wind around through the canyon and eventually reach a point where things become less steep. Of course, As you can see, the cliffs in the center do not look like a likely ascent point. A lot of loose rock up there and a lot of vertical area. So that doesn't look like a likely ascent point. So either it's going to be, if there's an ascent point, it's going to be to the right of those cliffs or to the left of the cliffs. And we don't know. This may take a couple explorations here, but I do believe this is the canyon of greatest hope to get to that upper Crest Ridgeline. One thing that I would say is that the greatest barrier is not vertical rock. The greatest barrier, especially in the beginning, is going to be brush. And by brush, I don't mean what we're looking at around us right here. No, I'm talking about 8-foot solid walls of brush that are intertangled and create an impossible barrier. So we'll see what we encounter there. If we get through the brush, we've got a good chance of making it to the summit. And a quick note regarding the condition of the trail. As you can see, there's a double pathway here, which looks like old tire tracks. And so this, like a lot of the trails in this area that are now closed off to traffic, it may likely have been used as a road. You can see, wow, look at the rocks are increasing. This is really nothing, but yeah, you need to watch your ankles. And up ahead, the rocks are only going to get larger as we go, become boulders that you need to scale in order to proceed upward. But yeah, you can see two distinct tire tracks on this trail. And it is a very good trail, as trails at the base of the Rainbow Mountains go. Let's do a quick 360 so that you can see the terrain in this area. There's the canyon, which is our goal, between Rainbow Mountain on the right, Mount Wilson on the left. And then looking around to Juniper Peak, and behind it, the tall peak, is Bridge Mountain. Looking a little further, you're looking into Red Rock Park and the terminus of the Rainbow Mountains. And here is White Rock Mountain. At the northern base of the Rainbow Mountains. And then, yeah, take a look at the plant life here. Just the terrain. Yeah, you're looking over to the Calico Hills there. Red Rock Park. First pull out as you're going around the scenic drive. Very beautiful. A lot of fun climbing there. And continuing to look around. Here's a larger view of Blue Diamond Mountain. And yeah, we'll maybe attempt Blue Diamond Mountain from Middle Oak Creek at some point. We're going to really explore Blue Diamond Mountain very well this winter. And then you can see to the right of the trail, or south, I would say, huge canyon. So this little trail that I'm on is really the best bet for getting up to the canyon between Mount Wilson and Rainbow Mountain. There's the southern portion of the Rainbow Mountains. But just wanted to show you what things look like in this area as you're continuing to ascend the trail, we're going to eventually reach Oak Creek Spring, which is where most people turn around. And that is a beautiful, it's a beautiful hike in itself, especially on a clear day. Let's give Juniper Peak its due. I haven't really zeroed in on that. Here is Juniper Peak, and just a week ago I ascended the beginning of Juniper Canyon and then made a deviation up to the base of the cliffs, the eastern cliffs of Rainbow Mountain. There's a page on that, and stood at the top of the, well, just the base of these cliffs, and watched rock climbers. Very awe-inspiring, majestic location, just to look straight up at those vertical cliffs. And that's a great hike in itself. Okay, continuing upward. Quick note to rock climbers: if you're rock climbing and your destination is the cliffs, the eastern cliffs of Rainbow Mountain, you have a few choices for approach trails. Here's a little cairn on this Middle Oak Creek trail, and you can see that there's a trail that leads up toward Rainbow Mountain, and it's probably going to arrive at the base of the eastern cliffs there. That is a potential approach. Now, another approach would be the Oak Creek Trailhead in Red Rock Park, and the Pine Creek Trailhead. So those are three great approaches, and I'm sure there is at least one more, probably at the exit of Red Rock Park. That could be an approach. But yeah, those cliffs are just amazing, and if you're a rock climber, you want to get there as quickly as you can so you can spend more time on the cliffs. As is often the case on these trails, there are a lot of unmarked rabbit trails that go off in a lot of different directions. And I took a left at the cairn, and this leads to a trail that descends into this wash, canyon wash, and I'm just not thinking that's the main Oak Creek Canyon Trail. We don't know, but we will find out. Maybe I should be heading down into that canyon. You will find out very soon. There is another split-off trail right here that heads along the upper edge of this, the northern edge of this canyon. And we'll take this little trail, we'll keep skirting the upper edge, and hopefully we'll be able to descend into Oak Creek Canyon. Otherwise, we'll have to come back here and descend at this point. So there's always a lot of choices, more than one choice, and all of them are unmarked. So you'll find out what leads somewhere and what leads to a dead end or detour. Okay, this little rabbit trail has led me along the edge of this canyon, probably Middle Oak Creek Canyon, I would imagine. And there have been a few descent points. Here's another descent point into the canyon. Interesting. And that may be one that we want to return to. But what I wanted to point out is, no, the main trail is in this direction, and it's to the right of the edge of the canyon, which is probably, if I had followed the cairn that was on my right a ways back, I would have stayed on the main trail. So yeah, I departed from the main trail and took this little detour, although maybe we really do need to descend into the canyon. We don't know, but we'll scope it out. We'll find out before too long. So I'm going to angle over to the right here and continue on what looks like the main Oak Creek Trail. Okay, this settles it. Yes, at the cairn way back, I should have taken a right at that cairn and it would have kept me on this main trail. This is indeed the Middle Oak Creek Trail. And one thing I could say is, yeah, making that detour to the left was not a bad detour because it actually made a circuit that gave a good view of the canyon that is below in this area, Oak Creek Canyon. We're still above Oak Creek Canyon, but it looks like this is the main trail that leads to Oak Creek Canyon. I see a few markers up ahead. We'll take a look at those. Approaching another sign as we continue on this Oak Creek Canyon Trail. Let's see what we got here. Oh, what do you know? This is the Knoll Trail. So it's going to split off to the right here, heading north. And we were on this when we met up with this trail in Pine Creek Canyon, and we're heading south in this direction. So that's actually north, but we were heading from the north. And then looking here, there's a little sign for the Oak Creek pullout. And here's South Oak Creek area. That's interesting. So there's a South and a North Oak Creek. Interesting discovery. I guess the South Oak Creek direction is going to put you down into the canyon earlier. But we're going to continue forward here and see if, maybe we need to go to the South Oak Creek area using this trail. We don't know. We'll find out. So there is actually a trail that leads to North Oak Creek Canyon, which is the one I'm on, and one that leads to South Oak Creek Canyon. And the question is, which of these is most likely to continue upward and help us toward the Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridgeline? So we're going to try the North Oak Creek Trail, and the hope is that, according to that Google map, you hug the north edge of the canyon ahead, and it looks a little more friendly for climbers, but we don't know. We're going to find out. I may need to come back and try that south branch. And here's another connector. So I guess I could have, I don't know how I would have ended up in this spot to avoid the little detours that I took. But yeah, it looks like there might have been a more direct route. We don't know. Onward. Okay, a few more unmarked rabbit trails we've just passed. And all I can say is, yeah, there's going to be trails going in every direction. And your challenge is going to be to try to piece out the main route. Again, we are headed toward I think we're on the North Oak Creek Canyon Trail. And my study of the Google map said the most likely approach that's going to work is to hug the base of Rainbow Mountain here, and that would be more the north side of the canyon, although the canyon appears to really narrow out up ahead. So I don't see how there could be two different trails up this canyon. Eventually they've got to converge. We'll find out. Okay, I just deviated to this little canyon overlook, and yeah, we are on the North Oak Canyon Trail, which is actually along that, yeah, the right or north side at the base of Rainbow Mountain. We'll see how that goes. But I hear people down on the South Trail, and you see the South Trail below, so it's actually not hard if we made the wrong choice. I think there's going to be a place to reconnect with that South Trail. But wow, look at all the brush down in that area. So we just don't know. It looks pretty steep up in this area. We may hit some drop-offs. So let's just keep exploring Oak Canyon. Looking down into the canyon and imagining what we're going to need to do to continue to ascend the canyon. You can see how there is a further south or left split and a right or north split. We are going to try the north split first. Let's see how far we get. And if worst comes to worst and we end up at a barrier, we'll come back and try the other split. We'll try the south split later. And here's a view of Oak Creek Canyon. Here it is below, to the left or south of where we are. So lots of options here, and then you're looking all the way down to Blue Diamond Mountain. And then over now the Las Vegas Valley is coming into view. We've achieved that elevation where you can see it. Still not the very best weather, but it looks like it's clearing up a bit. And Calico Hills, Damsel Peak, and Turtlehead Peak. There's Damsel Peak and Turtlehead Peak. And then the La Madre Mountains. El Padre on the left, La Madre on the right, and then circling around. Here's the base of Rainbow Mountain, the eastern base. There's the cliffs, impressive, beautiful. So let's see if we can hug the southern base of the Rainbow Mountains, or Rainbow Mountain, and continue on up this canyon. And if you want to see something really impressive, here is Mount Wilson. And that's a sheer 3,000 foot drop between the summit and the base. So, wow. At one point, maybe we'll be up there and we'll look over the edge. Maybe not. Okay, a very fine northern Oak Canyon trail is now descending into Oak Canyon. So far, so good. Okay, another unmarked rabbit trail split shortly after that last segment. And yeah, you can descend into Oak Creek Canyon taking a left, and that looks like the road more traveled. The road less traveled in the meantime looks like this one that continues along the base of the mountains. I think I'm going to take the right split here and just see where that leads, and maybe come back to this point if I end up at a dead end, because we don't know what the main trail is, and there's nothing here that tells you. Okay, another split off rabbit trail to the right, one to the left. The one to the left seems to lead downward a little bit toward Oak Creek Canyon, the base of the canyon. The one to the right appears to continue to hug the base of Rainbow Mountain on the right. So yeah, not sure which one to take. I think that there will probably be a chance, if I take this one to the left this time, to reconnect and head upward if I need to, and to head downward if I need to. So I think I'm going to take the one to the left here, and seems to offer a few more choices. So continuing on, just to take a look at these impressive cliffs. Here's the southeastern side of Rainbow Mountain. So if you're a rock climber, yeah, there's some cliffs you might want to experiment on when it's not as wet as it is today. And then, yeah, here for the Mount Wilson rock climbing crowd, here are some cliffs you might want to experiment on. This is the north side of Mount Wilson. And at the base is Oak Creek Canyon. Looks pretty brushy down there. I do want to avoid all that brush if possible. Okay, let's continue on upward. Okay, yeah, the trail ends, or at least crosses, these boulders, and I have a feeling if I continue high, and there's the base of Rainbow Mountain up ahead, that maybe I'm just going to a rock climber's approach trail. We don't know. Maybe I could continue along up here, but now I'm wondering about backtracking a bit and descending into Oak Creek, and then continuing along the base of the canyon for a while. It looks sort of passable, but again, it looks pretty brushy down there. So here we are in a section that has a lot of brush and boulders, and we need to get through this section in order to continue upward. And so the question is going to be, do we want to continue high at the base of Rainbow Mountain on the right, or low near the base of Mount Wilson on the left? So let's just piece this together. You'll find out which decision I made in a bit. I headed up that rocky area behind us, and now there is a descent possibility here, but look what you're facing down there. A lot of brush and boulders. In the meantime, I could try and stay high, but anything that looks like a trail is disappearing up in this direction, and there's probably less brush, but a huge amount of boulders up here. So yeah, we'll have to see which is the best way. The good news is that I guess there are a lot of opportunities to descend into the canyon and try the south side or the middle of the canyon. But wow, look at what you're facing down there. So we'll find out. We'll know a little later. This may take a few trips just to work out this stretch of the canyon. And the sun's coming out. Regardless of whether this pathway works out for us, gotta say, it's very beautiful up here. You see the combination of the pine trees, Rainbow Mountain, and the rocks at the base. So this could be a destination trail in itself. But let's head upward and see if we can continue hugging the upper area. If not, and we come back down to this place and descend into the canyon below and navigate all those boulders down there and the brush. There's Mount Wilson. Yeah, and if you're a rock climber, pause the video, zoom in, and pick your route. Knock yourself out up there. Okay, I'm continuing to hug the upper area at the base of the Rainbow Mountain cliffs, at least as high as I can go. Looks like this little trail, which may be the North Oak Creek Trail, we don't know, but it's about as far north as you can go and not end up on the rocks up there. So yeah, continuing along, let's see where this goes. Of course, there are other opportunities, a lot of opportunities to descend to the left here toward the south area. I'm thinking that I may either be on a good trail that's going to lead through the canyon, or I may be on a rock climber's approach trail that's going to end at some cliff where rock climbers would begin to ascend. So let's continue through this area, which does not look too wide open, and see what it offers. You can see a little faint trail here, which involves weaving around brush and climbing over boulders. And our goal straight ahead. Well, this little unmarked trail is looking decent at this point. Yeah, you can't really tell more than about 20 feet ahead in most spots if you're on something that's going to continue, but then things open up. So far, looking like we've chosen the right little rabbit trail, and my strategy has been to stay on the north side of Oak Creek at the base of Rainbow Mountain as far as possible without ascending too far up toward the base of the cliffs there, where you can see things are very rocky and doesn't look like there's any passageway. But here, yes, we do have a passageway before us, and how we got here, I can't totally tell you, but just hug the lower base of Rainbow Mountain cliffs. Another little rabbit trail split off as we continue to skirt the lower base of Rainbow Mountain's cliffs, and you're about 100, 200 feet below the cliff line. But there's a trail that heads off in this direction, and I think in this case it might be time to move over more into the canyon, because looking ahead, looks like there's a lot of drop off up there. So this is where we descend into Oak Creek Canyon. Okay, well, we've avoided this as long as we could. We're now descending into the base of Oak Creek, and yeah, this is still the north side. It looks like there's a south side over at the base of Mount Wilson. So yeah, let's continue along. There is no opportunity above us, so we are at a point where we are as close to the base of Rainbow Mountain as we can be and still continue up the canyon. And by the way, if you're looking to reach this point as quickly as possible, the route we took looks like the best route. And we'll see what things look like up ahead. The only other option would have been to take the South Oak Creek Trail, but I don't see anyone taking that trail. I saw one person on this trail, so I think I'm in the best spot, the most streamlined approach, and let's now see what's ahead. Okay, in my attempt to avoid some of the boulders below, and there you can see the base of the Rainbow Mountain cliffs. Yeah, in my attempt to avoid the boulders below, I navigated a little bit to the toward the base of Mount Wilson, and I can say no, don't do this. Looks like somebody else has made this mistake and has found a way to get back down into the lower base of the Rainbow Mountain cliffs. So I'm going to take this little trail. I should have stayed low and continued to hug the base of the Rainbow Mountain cliffs, which was my original strategy. So yeah, if you're doing this, don't, avoid the just avoid the temptation to head up toward the Mount Wilson cliffs, because that will not end very well, as you can see. Continue to hug the base of the Rainbow Mountain cliffs. Actually, that little detour I took up toward Mount Wilson was not too bad, because it helped me avoid quite a huge boulder field. And then I was able to descend without any trouble back into the canyon here, having bypassed a number of boulders. So, maybe this is the way to go. I know that one definitely could not have continued high up on the base of the Mount Wilson cliffs. Now, I do see a cairn up there. Interesting. which indicates that may be a rock climber's approach to ascend Mount Wilson from that point. Very interesting. But what we're going to do now is we're going to continue along the base of Rainbow Mountain's cliffs. And here's a view of the canyon ahead. So brush, boulders, Rainbow Mountain cliffs to the right, Mount Wilson cliffs to the left. Here's a happy thought. All these boulders that we see around us, at one time or another, were actually on the cliff walls above us, became dislodged and tumbled down into this area. So yeah, a climber's helmet will not help you if one of these decides to give way while you're in the canyon here. Chances are pretty slim. You have more of a chance to win the lottery probably, but wow. Yeah, huge boulders down here. Boulders behind, cliffs above. Wow, look at this one. Definitely don't want to be here when these fell. And boulders ahead. And where there's not boulders, there's brush. So, yeah, definitely not the speediest course to hit the mid-upper ridge of the Rainbow Mountains, upper Crest Ridgeline. However, boy, it's a long trek from the south and the north point. Maybe I can work this route out and streamline it and memorize exactly which boulder to climb over and which rabbit trail to take, and then we could have a real route. Okay, and looking down the canyon, Blue Diamond Mountain. Rainbow Mountain. The canyon ahead, Mount Wilson above on this side. How's this for a tight squeeze? There's even an echo in here. I feel like I'm almost caving. Yeah. Look at the size of these boulders. There's the path downward, and here through this area is the path upward. Let's try it and see what happens. How I got up here, I could not say, but yeah, right up that passageway up to here, and then yeah, you can see a little plateau here, but how to get there from below. I think this might be the best way, the way that I took. And now let's look ahead. And there's the canyon up ahead. Be nice when this opens up and the boulders begin to thin out, if that actually occurs. Okay, onward. Go between the bushes and boulders and very narrow passageways. One can wind oneself up this canyon. There's Mount Wilson. And I've reached this point where the wash continues up the canyon. And it looks like maybe the boulders are a little less steep and large, but we don't know. And it looks like a little less brush, but then that could change anytime. And some climbers ahead. And their goal is to scale these cliffs up Rainbow Mountain. Definitely makes this canyon and the boulders here a lot less imposing. And there on the other side is Mount Wilson. The summit actually looking a lot closer. From this point. So yeah, alternate summit route for Mount Wilson. Ascend this Oak Creek Canyon between Mount Wilson and Rainbow Mountain, and then attempt to summit. But we don't know. We need to look a little more ahead. So here we go. Well, I didn't expect to find this. Here we've got grapevines in the canyon. So evidently grapes can grow wild up here. So we're in the midst of all the grapes. And continuing upward, we could go this way or around this way. And that's been our situation throughout this whole excursion up this canyon, is choosing which of multiple ways to go that will take us to the next level. Okay, there are the climbers. Getting ready for the steep section up Rainbow Mountain's cliffs. Okay, we're now at a divide I saw on the terrain map earlier. And one could go up this north side, this north channel of the canyon, which is maybe what I'll do, but you can see heavy on the boulders. Or one could go up the south branch. And I guess it might depend on where you want to summit and also if you can summit. It does look like once one got partway up this south branch of the canyon, maybe, just maybe, there would be a route up Mount Wilson through the back door. Possibility. But we're going to try the north branch today. That's the one that I was looking at earlier and thinking, you know, that's got a possibility of getting us to the summit of the Rainbow Mountains upper Crest Ridgeline. The only thing is, after being in this canyon, I guess I could learn how to ascend more rapidly based on knowing each boulder and each turn and which way to go, because there's been a lot of time spent trying to figure out which route to weave around that will take me upward. Anyway, yes, I could master this canyon and perhaps get to the upper Crest Ridgeline up there in time to explore the ridgeline from this midsection. But wow, this canyon is eating up a lot of time. And I imagine the South Branch is going to be the same way. There's a lot of brush and boulders between where we stand and the summit of this canyon, but I would like to see what things look like around the corner up there. As you see, things wind around to the left once you reach the lower sun spot, the sun making a V there. So yeah, I want to see what that looks like if I can get up there without eating up a whole lot of time. So I want to save time for the return trip, and definitely do not want to be navigating these boulders in the dark. Okay, I could not tell you how I got up to this point, but still ascending the canyon, Oak Creek Canyon, between Rainbow Mountain on the right and Mount Wilson on the left. Let's take a look above us. Every new height to ascend is like a puzzle. Nothing's been super easy up to this point. Continue to be a lot of brush and boulders in this canyon. So let's continue on up, and hopefully things will thin out, but I don't think so, because the rocks fall from those cliff walls, and the cliff walls remain very vertical on either side of this canyon, which means there's probably a lot more of this at the base of the canyon. Closing in on my turnaround point here. Mount Wilson, looking down the canyon, Mount Wilson on the right. Rainbow Mountain on the left here. You see the cliffs. And wow, this is really a puzzle all the way up the canyon. Winding around which route to take. And yeah, here's a little trail leading off in this direction. And I might take this for a little while and see if it gets me to the next higher level in the canyon, or I could take these boulders. Yeah, we'll see. At any rate, yes, it's a real puzzle, and I want to leave myself a lot of time to puzzle my way back down the canyon and avoid all the drop-offs that I saw on the way up. And maybe return here and attempt a more rapid ascent, understanding the canyon a little better. It's going to take a while to work my way down. But it's fun. If you like climbing over boulders and weaving through brush, this is your canyon. Well, I'm at my turnaround point. Got to leave enough time to puzzle my way out of this canyon. I have a feeling it's not going to be any faster on the downhill than it was on the uphill, which puts me back Very close to dark. And as I said, I don't want to be on these rocks in the dark. So yeah, turning around at this point, and good chance I could reach this point a lot faster on a future trip. I still want to see what's around that corner in the canyon. I'm thinking that it might be an ascent to the upper crest ridge of the Rainbow Mountains. Here you can see toward Mount Wilson. Slabs of sandstone, frozen Jurassic sand dunes, and then looking through the trees here. Another split in the canyon. This would be the left split up ahead, and that can be seen from looking on a Google topographical map, or terrain map, I think is what they call it. Okay, turning around now and going to weave my way back down through the canyon. Should be fascinating. Hopefully my next video, or one of my last video of today, is going to be on the trail at the base of Oak Creek Canyon. Okay, here we go. I got to confess, navigating down this rocky canyon with the boulders and finding the right channel and lowering myself just right until I'm not a rock climber, that has given me a headache. Makes my head hurt. Okay. And there's, looking back up, we were at the base of that area. And then looking down, see, this is what I'm dealing with. Lower yourself down. Is it just, and the top rock is always slick. And, on the other hand, maybe I need to go that way. I see a little cairn over there. I just feel fortunate I've made it this far without mishap. Yeah. So here's what's next, and this is how it's been all the way down this canyon, is piecing out the route that's going to do it. And having come up there, there's 1,000 choices that there's no way to memorize what the route was. So coming down, I've probably taken a totally different way. Anyway, yeah, it's okay. It's kind of fun to play around in the boulders. However, I gotta say, I don't think this would be a time efficient route, at least down the north branch of this canyon. It wouldn't be a time efficient route to or from the Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridgeline. So yeah, let's figure out what the next little winding route is and continue on down. Hallelujah. Here is something that looks like an actual trail. Oh, maybe no more boulders. We don't know. Oops. Here we go down into the boulders, but at least There's a little trail here, which means that where there is a trail, maybe it winds around and misses the boulders. I think this might be the one I came up on. We shall see. Okay, the sun is shining again. I'm on a regular trail. I feel like someone who has been lying in bed sick for weeks on end, and then finally wakes up one morning and discovers he's okay. So, yeah, oh, I'm so glad to be on this trail. Now, of course, one thing about these adventures is that it only takes about an hour to forget the challenge of the boulders. And all I can remember is how great it was and what a fun, puzzling trip it was up this canyon. Still, it's good to be back on a trail. Let's head back to the Middle Oak Creek Trailhead now. Wow, take a look at Bridge Mountain, lit up by the afternoon sun. There's Rainbow Mountain. Here's the Oak Creek Canyon. We just passed through that. Probably made it about halfway, 3/4 of the way up. And then panning around, there's the Keystone Thrust, La Madre Mountain, El Padre Mountain, El Bastardo from right to left, the high points. And then over this way, Turtlehead Peak and Damsel Peak. Turtlehead Peak is on the left, Damsel Peak on the right. There's Turtlehead Peak. There's Damsel Peak. And then looking down toward the Las Vegas Valley. And then just to complete the circuit here, coming around, and here's Mount Wilson. And then back to Oak Creek Canyon. Between Rainbow Mountain on the right and Mount Wilson on the left.